Hey everybody, this is Miles. This is my first video. I'm a painter, public artist, portrait artist, educator, and I thought it would be interesting to look at and sort of break down some of the images that I make in the course of production. Some of these are just made for fun. Some of them are made as I'm preparing a mural or a portrait work or a final painting that I'll be doing physically. So we're going to start with a picture that I made a couple months ago called Bug Hug. And it is a depiction of a guy embracing a caterpillar, which I'd produced before in a few different ways, but I decided to really condense it into a more layered digital image. So let's get to it. So the picture began as most do, just really loose line drawing. I began with a more extended picture, more vertical, based on an image that I produced 2-3 years ago of a boy hugging a caterpillar, both of them standing up. And I decided that it was more interesting to focus in on the figure and the bug kind of as a double portrait, and to really maximize the sort of bending and circularity of the caterpillar. So really creating that sense of curvature and overarching that you can accomplish with the body of a long insect, be it a caterpillar, a millipede, whatever it is. So at this point in the drawing, I'm really focusing in on the two characters. I've identified the multiple body segments that you would have in a caterpillar. I'm preparing them to create a kind of solar system out of them. I decided that I would make each one of them into a kind of earth pattern. So on Google, I found some silhouette continental images of what the globe looks like from different aspects, and thought that I would use it to create that sort of surrounding for our characters here. So at this point in the drawing, you can see that I'm really refining some of the muscularity, creating a sense of how the figure is actually embracing and leaning in to the insect. I think one of the interesting things about drawing an insect in this way, or showing human beings in direct physical contact with insects, is that when we encounter them day to day, they tend to be very delicate interactions, right? There are many insects, caterpillars included, that if you touch them, they could burst, or you could just kill them because they're so delicate. Others, are very sharp, angled, pretty much just an exoskeleton that you're encountering. They may be just as delicate, but you go from sort of a soft body that explodes to a hard body that collapses. And so I really wanted, in this case, to use what I could in art to create that sense of embrace, which you would see in other mammals, a kitten, a puppy, a sloth, a raccoon, any of these creatures that are popular on YouTube, and to use that for the purpose of the insects. One of the reasons why I decided to do a picture like this is because a couple months ago, I saw a friend of mine, I think it was around New Year's, saw a friend of mine, and he came up to me and talked about how when we were in elementary school together, I had protected some bug from a group of other boys, and that particular act of defense was really impactful for him, and it shaped how he viewed human behavior from then on. We were like 5-6 years old, and that was really moving to me, and I thought, I'd like to emphasize this a little bit more, because I see this impulse in human beings to protect animals or to protect creatures of any kind, and to create icons out of that particular attention. So getting back to the drawing here, you can see that I've done a lot to create not just physicality and muscularity in the heads of the figure and the caterpillar, to create a kind of face out of the caterpillar's head, but I'm connecting things formally. I'm stylizing and extending the musculature of the guy's head in such a way that it is in sort of a direct, continuous line with the features of the insect. At this point, I'm throwing in those different aspects of the globe. You can see these continental layouts, and I was happy with how that turned out. I thought that was an idea that translated pretty well and quickly. I've always liked the look of maps, especially silhouetted map forms. It also makes it look kind of like a cow, which is not particularly interesting metaphorically, other than it becomes more like a domestic creature that we would recognize. At this point, I'm throwing in some of the block colors, the green, the brown, purple and blue, the black in the background. I decided that I wanted to create that contrast between basic earthy creatures, the human and the caterpillar, and this kind of space context, right? Make it cosmic, both earthy and cosmic. And threw in a pale blue dot, that idea of the Earth being a pale blue dot within the universe when you take a universal scope, throwing that way into the distance and providing a light source through that. And at the end, there are three major light sources. There's this pale blue dot in the distance. There's a kind of independent light source that exists between the caterpillar and the figure, which you'll see more of as I throw some pink and some blue over it. And then there are four pink dots, which are going to appear in the corners of the composition as I keep moving through this. So all of the texturing was sort of celestial. You can see these kind of coral blue, purple, and pinks laid over. Again, creating that contrast between the earthy and the cosmic. And at this point, you can see how I've highlighted out that double portrait. I've made it its own sort of color area, creating a sense of connection from head to head and highlighting them, sort of in the way that you would a Baroque portrait, like a Rembrandt portrait, sort of pulling them out of the darkness. And at this point, those final touches, bringing in those hard highlights, coming in from those pink dots in the corners and that blue dot in the middle. And that's it. So that's sort of the totality of the bug hug picture. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to throw those down underneath the video and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll be doing one of these probably about every week as I kind of go through my normal process of composition. And I hope it's inspiring as well. Thanks for taking the time. See ya.